Alright guys, good day guys. So this video is specifically for you, Mr. Victor. Um, so we are still working on this mega concept project. We were able to achieve a few things yesterday. We were able to achieve the nav bar, though there are a few things we need to change on the nav bar. If you look at our design, you can see that the nav bar is a little bit bigger, as in height it's a little bit thicker. But what we have in our own project is our nav bar is so slim and it's too far from the top. So let's bring it closer to the top and increase the size a little bit. So what we're going to do is we go to our code and straight to our CSS file. So our CSS file, then the navbar. We've applied background color of white, so our navbar width of 90%, margin we've given 0 and auto. Border radius display 5.625 rem. So let's reduce this number a little and say 3. Let's say 3 rem. And let's save and see what we're going to get. Okay, that's it. Not bad. Let's say 2.5. Let's say 2. I think 2.5 is. So this is 2. Let's increase the padding a little bit. So we can say padding. Let's try 20 pixels. We just want to try big numbers to see what we're going to get. So we're trying a big number. Okay, this looks good, but we might want to also increase our font size as well. So instead of, let's go back to our 8 pixels or 10 pixels. Let's make it 10 pixels instead. Alright guys, so we've been able to achieve this to make our navbar a little bit bigger. Now let's increase the font size a little bit. So how do we do that? We can come here and save font size. Let's make it larger. So we can either use numbers or we make it larger by just adding larger to it, and you can see that the text looks bigger a little bit. So one other thing, let's go back to our design. So the colors of our text and the font style, they are a bit different. They are not exactly what we are having on our web browser right now. So let's change the font color and the font size. I mean the font style, font family. So when we come to our text editor, so the first thing we want to do is the font family. And I think that should be Poppins. Do we have? Okay, I don't have Poppins on my computer. Let's just go with sans serif. Save and see. Okay, let's just go with this and let's change the color of our text. So remember that all anchor tags, they have default color text color. So if we should come here and say color, we change the color. Let's say we are using red, something very obvious. So let's use red. And we save. You're going to see that that color is applied only to the mega concept, but not to the links that we have there. The reason is because the links and the anchor tags have different default styling. So by default, the color of an anchor tag is always blue by default. So to manipulate that, you have to select the anchor tag specially before you can apply a color to it. So what we do is we come back to our text editor, our Visual Studio. So I'm going to get rid of this red color here. Then I'm going to select my anchor tag, which is the A tag. And then I'm going to give it a color. So I'm using this color code here. And we save and we go back and we see that the color is applied properly. For the mega concept, we're not going to do anything to that because that is supposed to be a logo, but we don't have that logo. So I'm just going to leave it like this and then come back, make reference to our design again. So let's make that book a call. So if you look at our website right now, the book a call doesn't have that background and those things. So let's implement that by coming to our Visual Studio Code, and I'll go to my index.html. So this is book a call, right? This is the li for book a call. Now, I have already given this a class name of nav button. So I'm going to select this class name in my CSS. I'm going to copy this and make reference to that in my CSS. Remember, it's a class. And all classes in CSS, if you want to select class, you prefix with a dot and then the name of the class. So I've selected .navbar, nav button rather. What I want to do to the nav button is to attach this color. First of all, let me know what color is that. I'm coming to, so this is Figma, by the way. So I select this and then I copy the color code. Let me switch it back to design mode. Then I come over to my software, to my Visual Studio Code. What I want to do is background color. And then I'll paste that color that I copied there. Then let's save and go back. So we've seen it's working now. The next thing we want to do is we want to change the text color. Remember that this is a nav, the text color is going to be an anchor tag. And this is where we learned a new kind of selector in CSS called the combinator selector. So I will say .nav button, that is inside of the nav button. Let's look at our HTML again and see. So, okay, so we can, I think we can change the color inside of here. We can say color white. I hope this works. Then save. Yes, it does. So I was thinking maybe the class was in the li, but since the class is inside of this anchor, copy this. So I'm going to exit out and put it in the li. Then when I hit save, so, oh, it's still applied. Okay. But there's a problem there. We're having a problem. What's the problem? Oh, that's the problem. So I don't want to copy the A as well. Let me copy just the attributes of class. And let's save and see. Okay, so you see that that color did not apply because I am selecting the li. Remember that A tag, if you want to change colors of links, you have to select them specifically, especially when it comes to anchor tag. You have to select them specifically before that style, that color can be applied to it. So let's just take everything back and save. And one thing you notice is our text, our button is kind of squeezed. Let's create some breathing space by adding padding. So we're going to add padding to it. So we don't need this right now. So we're going to add padding. Let's say padding. Let's give it 10 pixels. So we can always change this number. We just want to try and see what it does. So 10 pixels is kind of good, but let's increase it a little bit. So what we want to increase is top and bottom can be 12 pixels. Top and bottom can be 12. Then left and right, I'm going to make it 15 pixels. So top and bottom is the first one, which is 12. Left and right is the second one. So when we go back, we see that we are having more spaces. So let's also increase that. I think this space is okay, but one other thing I want to do is to make it bold. So that's called font weight. To make it bold, we use font weight. And I can select numbers from here, but what I'm going to do is to select the bolder option, and then I save that. So our bouquet call is now bold. But our bouquet call, it's kind of very squeezed when it's compared to our nav bar. So we need to add some breathing space in our nav bar as well. So we come to the nav bar, to the nav, where we have our padding. So we have padding of 10 pixels. So let's replicate the same figures we did there. So we're going to do 12 for top and bottom. Left and right, we're going to do 15 pixels. Okay, I think we need to increase the number. So let's do a very big number, and later we can reduce it. So I'm going to say 30. Okay. Then I'm going to also say 30 here. So we can reduce for the top and bottom. We can say 20 pixels. Okay, I think this is not bad. Another thing we are noticing right now is our bouquet call button. The border should have rounded edges instead of sharp edges, because when you look at the design, the borders of bouquet call has that rounded edges. So let's apply that to our bouquet call. So remember, we selected the bouquet call, which is this .nav button. So we're going to do that by adding border radius. Border radius, and we make it 5 pixels. So we now have a rounded kind of design. So now let's look at the next part of our design, a branding agency with a twist. Now, if you look at it very well, we have a branding agency with in white color. So that text is in white color. Why the twist is not in white color? So so this is a design choice. We're using the kind of complementing this color that we have in this logo. So we're also going to replicate that in our design. So first of all, let's write HTML for that. So we're done with the nav now outside. So this is also going to be in the header section, because this is called a hero section in a web page, in a landing page. This is the hero section. So the hero section most of the time is usually located in the header section. So the hero and the nav, they are usually located in the same section, which is known as the header section. So we're going to do that. So inside of this, our nav, we're going to create our hero, our hero section. So how we do that, I'm going to introduce you to what we call containers in HTML. Remember that almost all the elements in HTML are containers. They are containing elements, or they are containing they are containing elements or content. So elements in HTML are usually containers. So the div is another typical example of a container. So for example, the UL is a container that contains LIs and other elements in it. So the div is also a container that can also contain other elements as well. Because we want to group a branding agency with a twist, this is a good design makes great business. That's going to be a P tag, and then our button as well. So this button is actually a link. So it's not really a button, it's a link. So a branding agency with a twist, good design makes this, get started. They are all going to be in one container. So that's why I'm creating a div here. So I start with my H1. And what's the H1? A branding agency. So let me quickly copy this text. Let me quickly. So quickly copy the text, and I take it and I paste it right here. So remember that from our design, the twist is having a different color. So to do that, I'm going to create a span tag. So twist, I'm going to add twist inside of this. And then I'm going to save that. So the next thing, let's make this in one line. So it's easy for us to read it. The next thing we want to do is our P tag. So we have like two P tags here. P tag 1 is, so quickly copy that and come to our index, and we say P, and we paste that as well. Then the other P, let's copy the other P tag, the other text. So same thing, copy, come over to here and paste. So the next thing I want to do is, so I'm going to use anchor tag for this button. I'm going to use an anchor tag for the button. So I can say anchor, and because it's a link, when you click on that, it should take you to somewhere. So get started. Okay, so let's save and see our results. Right now, this is what we have. Remember, we did display relative for this guy, so it's a little bit removed from the default structure of our HTML. So what we want to do is to bring this guy down a little bit. So to do that, first of all, let's give this div, the container, a class. I'm going to call that hero. Then save, then come to here and select dot hero. Then I'm going to say display flex. Look at what that will do for us. So it's putting all of them in one line. But what I want to do is, I also want to say flex direction. So you can change the direction of the flex. And I want to make it column instead of row. So I've made it column. I also want to give this a width. I want to give that container a width of, let's say, 50%. So it has a width. The next thing I want to do is to do my margin so that I'll place it at the middle. So margin, top and bottom will be 0 for now. Left and right will be auto. So let's save. It's kind of now in the center. The next thing I want to do is to do text align so that the text will be in the center. Right now, if we say background color, let's try and see something. So when we say BG, which is for background color, and let's say we want to give it background color of white. And when we save that, you can see that this is kind of like in the center, but the text is not in the center. So it's the text that needs to be in the center right now. How we do that is to come and say text align. And we put that in center. You can now see that our text is in the center of our web page. The next thing we want to do is we want to bring it down a little bit. So let's say margin top. There is another way to do this, but let's start with this for now. And let's say 10%. So there are other ways to do it, but for now we're going to stick with this. Let's say 15 instead. I think let's just leave it at this for now. The next thing we want to do is let's remove this background. We don't need the background. Rather, what we need there is color. We need the color. So first of all, save and ensure the background is not there. Okay. So come to the design. The color is white. The color of all the text apart from one. So color, we're going to make it white. No. White. Save. Okay, we have our white color. It seems our button. Okay, so why our button isn't showing, and we're going to understand why it's not showing right now. So the next thing we want to do is let's tackle the H1. So we're going to say, remember the combinator selector dot hero then H1. So the H1 in the hero, we're going to say font size. Let's increase the font size to something very big. Let's say 50 pixels for now. Let's see how big that is. That's not too big. Let's make it bigger than that. So let's say 100 pixels. So that seemed to be very big to me. Let's come back to our design and see a branding agency with a twist. So this is very big. So let's make it bigger than this. So instead of 100 pixels, let's say 200. Okay, now this is very, very big. But one thing we need to know is we need to also increase the width, because when you look at this design, you see where the width comes from. It's almost the same. It's the same width with the nav bar. So let's come and replicate that by making this a width of, I think the nav bar is 90%. Let's cross check and say 90%. So this is it for the nav bar. The width is 90%. Let's also do that here. So after 90%, okay, this seems not bad. It's now 90%, but I think we need to reduce something. We need to say, we need to say 180. Let's leave it as 180 pixels. I think we can leave it like this. One thing we can also do is let's try and reduce this nav bar and say 85. So if we're doing that, we also have to reduce this to 85 as well. Okay, let's just leave it like this. And one thing we are noticing is we have to, our margin top that we added, we have to reduce that number. So remember that you can always come and tweak this design, your design. So we're going to reduce this to like 12%. Okay, I think let's reduce to like 10%. Let's just keep it like this. And now let's move to the next one, which is the P tag. So let's increase the P tag a little bit. Let's go to our P tag, to hero H1. Now we're going to do dot hero P. We're going to say font size. So this one we're going to say larger instead. Let's try this and see. Larger is still small. So let's say 50 pixels. I think this is not bad, but we can reduce it a little bit to 40. I think this is what I'm going to settle with. Coming back to the design. Good design, okay. So the next thing we want to do is we want to give this our paragraph tag a width. Because when you look at this, you see that the professional is on another line. So how to do that is to give it a width. So remember we have two P tags there. Whatever width we are applying here will affect the two of the width of the P tags. So we can say width of, let's try with 50%. For now, can always change that, remember. So it's okay now, but it's going one side. So to make it position properly, we're going to do margin. So this is how you place, this is one of the ways you place items or containers in the center of your web page. So we're going to do 0 and auto. So that should fix it for us. Okay, we now have this. But one thing we are noticing is our button is no longer there. The reason for that is because we already selected button somewhere. We already selected the A tag somewhere, and we set the color to be this. So we need to now select our hero button. So our dot hero, the A, and we're now going to give it a different color, a color of white instead. Is that white? Let's go and check. Okay, that's not white. So let's look for this color. So I'm going to copy the code quickly. And then I'm going to paste it right there. So when I save and I come back to this, you can see that we are having some, oh, that should be background color instead. That should be the background. So the next one is the color, and I think the color is white. So color is white. So one thing you notice is the same styling that we are applying in this anchor tag, in this one, is the same styling we want to also apply here. So what we can do is we can copy this. This is the combinator selector. We can copy that and come to where we selected our nav button right here. Then we do comma and then we paste that here. So we can get rid of these So whatever styling we've done for this guy, for this our nav button, will be applied to the hero A. So when we go and we see it applied there, but one thing we want to look is the width. Our hero is taking 100% width, so we need to reduce that. Our our A rather, and we're going to give it a width of, say, 12% for now. We can also change it later on. Let's start with 12%. Let's also increase it, decrease a little bit. Let's say 10. Okay, now to position it center, margin 0 and auto. So it's positioned. Another thing we want to do is the margin at the top. Look at the design that we have here. For the design we are replicating, there is a lot of space here. So we're going to apply a margin top. I'm going to say margin top. And we're going to set it at, let's say, 5%. So it can be in percent, it can be in rem, it can be in whatever. Now we are having an issue. Oh, so instead of margin, it's margin top actually. So I think that's too far from the top. Let's reduce the 5% to something like 3%. Still a little bit far. Let's make it 2. Okay, I think I'm satisfied with this. So we have a branding agency with a twist. Remember that the twist should have a different color. We haven't done that yet, so let's quickly address that. For the twists, we come back and see. So we said we have a span right here. So what we do is we select the element, which is this span. We can quickly come to our main.css and say span, and this will definitely work. I will say color, and I think there's a color here. And then when we save it, you'll see it's actually working. I don't think that's the color, but we've changed the color. But one thing you notice is if we have many spans in our HTML, if we have many spans here, it's going to be affected by this styling that we've applied to this span. So what we are going to do to make it very specific is to do .hero, because that span is in the hero section, in the hero element or container. So we're going to do .hero so that we don't have that conflict in the future. Then let's see. So let's change the color to the real color that we have here. So what color is this? I'm going to quickly copy the color code. Then I'm going to come to my CSS. And then I'm going to paste that there. And then when I save, I go back, you can see we've just replicated our website. The next thing we can do, or we should do, to make it look exactly like what we have right here, because it's not exactly, it's the font. Now, I don't know the fonts that this, let me check and see what font is this. So if you check that font family, we can search for it, but for now we're not doing fonts, so we're not going to address that now. In the future, we're going to address the fonts and make it look more beautiful. So right now we are just using fonts that are available, which is, okay, let's quickly change this font to sans serif. But we can't use the font that was stated in that design for now. So font family, there is sans serif, there is Segu. So let's just go with, let's try Helvetica. 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 So let's just try that. I think this isn't bad, but let's go with Sego. Sego UI. I hope this works. So the next thing we want to address is the line height. You can see that there's a lot of space here. It's because of the line height that we're using. So we can come to our hero section and we can say line height of, let's say, 1. So we can always change that. Okay. I think this is not bad. This is not really bad for me. So I'm just going to stop right here. And we have a few things that we need to address. So there is one more thing in the design, which is this section. So to be able to add that, let's check our website. So we need to reduce a few things. We need to reduce our margin top. This is 10%. I'm going to make it 8%. The reason is because I want more space at the bottom so I can have that. So we can now have our logos. So I'm going to come out of this hero session. And I'm going to create a new container. And so this, from the design inspiration, these are brands that are kind of, so we have brands, dots, we have Melonware, we have EZ Food. So your tax is, what I'm going to do is we're going to make these names here. So we're going to use, let's use UL instead of a div. We're going to make these names right here. And your own job is to apply the colors that we have here. So you can see that Melonware, the wear is having a different color, right? So you're going to apply all of those. So that's going to be your tax. Instead of a div, let's use UL for that. And LI1 is brand. There is dots. So you are going to apply the styling for this. The next one is Melonware. LI Melonware. So the next one is, what's the next one? The next one is brand, is EZ Foods. So caps, EZ. Our word, food, one word. Save. Come to our website. You can see it's already having that display flex. So let's see, we've selected UL somewhere. That's why we are having that already. So you can see UL display flex with 50%. So where is our initial UL? I think this is nav UL. Yes, that's nav UL. So what we can do is make it very specific so it doesn't apply to that. So you can now see them here. Now, those items are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 of them. We're going to make it 7 by copying. Make them 7 rather. So I copy again. Then I paste bottom, save. I have that already. So the next thing I want to do is, so this UL is in the header. So I can say header, come to header and UL. I hope this doesn't cause any problem, but let's give it a class instead, just to be on the safe side. Let's give it a class. And I'm going to call that class brands. Then when I come to my CSS and I select that class dot brands, and then I will say display should be flex. I'm just going to say color of white, but you are going to change that. You're going to make those colors exactly. So that was going to be your own tax. Then I'm going to, so when we save, we see the color is applied. Next thing we want to do is width. And remember, from the design, we can see that the width of this is aligning with the A branding and this logo. So that means that width will be of the same size, which is, I think, is 85. Yes, 85%. So I'm going to say 85% for the width. Then the next thing I want to do is, so let's save and see. So we already have this, but there are things are not showing properly because we need to apply justify content space between. So space between. So they are now spread across. The next thing we want to do is we want to place it at the center because right now it's not at the center. So say margin 0 and auto. We do that. So margin top, we also have to bring it down a little bit. Margin top. And we say, let's say 3 rem. This time around, I'm going to use rem. Let me increase it a little bit and say 5 rem. Okay, so at this point, we have something that doesn't look exactly like that, but we are heading to the right direction. So what you're going to do is to add more effect on these, increase so the colors that we are having there for the brands, like the melonware, you're going to increase that. You're also going to increase the size of the text because they look a little bit small. So you're going to do all of that and submit. So once again, thanks for joining this session. This video is particularly dedicated to you, Mr. Victor, and yeah, I'm expecting your results. I'm expecting you submitting it anytime from now, today, tomorrow, any day. So thank you and have a blessed day. Happy coding.